The nights in suburban Seattle are smooth. The sound of rain on rooftops, the hum of a heat pump, the distant wheels of the occasional car at an intersection. Ethan, 44, a back-end engineer, lies on his back and listens to the house, the same way he listens to logs at work. A monotonous stream of events, the key is to notice when something new appears. New things appear. A soft rustling under the floor, like someone carefully moving a box on the concrete basement floor. "Do you hear?" he whispers into the darkness. "What?" Mira rolls over. "Ethan, is your beloved house talking again? It's rustling again." "Raccoons, or a dryer," she says sleepily. "Sleep." Raccoons possible. Dryer off. Ethan reaches for his phone, makes a note. Check basement motion logs. He makes notes like that all the time. It makes it easier not to argue with anxiety. He'll figure it out in the morning. In the morning, he pours coffee in the kitchen and opens his laptop right on the table by the window. The rain falls in streaks. The house is smart. There are motion sensors on the stairs, by the door, and in the basement itself. He scrolls through the graphs. There are spikes at 3 in the morning and at 4:15. The recording from the ring shows only the stairs empty, but with a barely noticeable shade of light from below, as if someone was holding a flashlight aimed at the floor. "Are you working before the meetings start again?" Mira appears in the kitchen in a gray robe, her hair pulled back. "How much longer?" "I'm looking at the logs. There was movement in the basement last night. I'll figure it out." "We have raccoons living under our house. You said so yourself." She smiles, but the smile is short. "Or the pipe is knocking again." "Call a plumber, will you?" "This afternoon, I'll be home." "I'll see for myself first." She takes a cup out of the cabinet and brings it to her nose. A second later, she winces. "Why does it smell like tobacco?" he asks. Ethan smells it too. A faint odor, like a cheap hotel where someone has been smoking by the window. They don't smoke in the house. None of their friends smoke in the house. "Maybe it's the neighbor's vent," he says. "Vince's workshop smells sometimes." "Aha," she nods, putting the cup in the sink. "I'll run into Sarah's studio. I'll be back by 2. And please call the plumber. Don't be a hero." He watches her go. Mira is 43 years old, a coordinator at a local art center. Before the pandemic, every exhibition felt festive to her. Then everything became more practical. Budgets, schedules, donations. He respects that. And he knows that her smile has often felt alien lately. But that smell, he doesn't like anything in the house that appears suddenly. He has a meeting at 9. A team of 5, everyone at home, cameras off. Ethan talks about the release, about tests, answers Sasha's question from Boston, everything is automatic. In his head, he's still in the basement. After the rally, he opens Home Assistant, reprograms one motion sensor, adds a rule. Send it a push notification for any movement downstairs between midnight and 5 and then change the password on the home NAS, just in case. At 11, he goes to Home Depot to buy light bulbs and batteries. The rain is getting heavier. At the checkout, he also buys some rusty brown hinge grease. The basement door has been creaking for a while. As he walks back, he notices that the basement door is locked with a small padlock. They put it in after they renovated the previous spring and didn't want the cat in there. But the padlock was usually left open. Now it's fixed. Ethan puts down the bags and calls out. Peace, silence. There's a note on the table. Sarah's until 2. Lunch in the fridge. He walks around the house, touches the lock. It's a regular lock with a master key that they keep in a bowl by the door. The bowl is empty. He sticks his hand in deeper, sorts through keys, coins, paper clips. No key. He goes to the garage, opens the hatch to the panel, looks at the machines. Everything is normal. There is a faint smell of smoke in the ventilation. He turns on the exhaust fan in the kitchen to maximum. He writes to Mira, "Did you take the key to the basement?" The answer comes a minute later. "Yes, so the cat doesn't come down. I'll return it in the evening." No smiles. Ethan dials the plumber's number, leaves a request for tomorrow. Then he gets to work, but the code doesn't work. At 3, he pours himself another coffee, goes into the living room. On the wooden floor by the hatch to the basement, he sees a barely noticeable mark, as if someone had touched dust on a sock. It doesn't prove anything, but it haunts him. At 6 in the evening, Mira returns. She brings in her bag and takes off her shoes. The key, Ethan asks. There, she nods at the bowl by the entrance. I just put it in. He takes the key, goes to the hatch. The lock is closed. He inserts the key. The lock does not turn. He tries again. Nope. The metal catches, but does not go. It's weird, he says, showing her. It won't turn. Maybe the old one has gone sour, she says. Let me try. She takes the key, inserts it, pretends to make an effort, then removes her hand. We need a new lock, he says calmly. Let the plumber take a look tomorrow as well. Ethan nods. He doesn't argue. But in the evening, when Mira goes to take a shower, he opens his laptop and connects to the camera on the stairs. It's pitch black. He switches to the motion sensor at 7:10, a short burst. He goes out into the hallway, to the hatch. He bends down. A slight coolness comes from the crack, and the sweet smell of tobacco smoke mixed with something cold, something from the kitchen. He tells himself, wait until tomorrow. Don't break anything. He always says that, and almost always does the opposite. At night, the wind picks up. Around 2, the lights go out. Somewhere in the distance, a neighbor's alarm goes off. Ethan wakes up from the silence. The house sounds different without electricity. No hum, no background noise. He gets up, puts on his hoodie, and takes a flashlight from the nightstand. Mira wakes up too. Damn. Another storm, she says. Go to bed, we'll sort it out tomorrow. I'll go down and check the pump in the basement, he says, just in case. No need now, she sits down, her voice becoming harsher. Please don't be a hero. If the pipe bursts, it will be worse, he replies. He walks into the hallway quietly. The hatch is visible in the dim light of the flashlight. The lock is in place. He takes a thin screwdriver from the kitchen drawer. It is not a professional tool. He is not doing anything illegal, he tells himself. He is trying to save the house. He manages to hook the shackle of the lock from the inside of the hinge and pull harder. The rust crunches. The lock does not fall, but moves a millimeter. He strains some more and the metal gives in. The lock remains hanging, but the lid can now be lifted. He lifts the hatch a few centimeters. The smell hits harder. Tobacco, food, the human smell of habitation, and a slight scent of air freshener. He lowers the hatch, returns to the bedroom. What? Mira asks. The lock's broken, he says briefly. I'll come down. Check the flashlight on your phone, if anything. He is back in the hallway, sets the hatch on its edge, and starts to descend with a flashlight in his hand. The steps are wooden and dry. It smells of cold and concrete. He stops at the bottom. The flashlight picks out a mattress on the floor, covered with a gray sheet. In the corner are empty plastic food containers. On a makeshift table is a transparent bottle of water, a lighter, and an ashtray made from an old tin can. Next to it is a portable fan turned off, and a black camera on a tripod pointed up toward the stairs. Ethan stands and watches. He has no words ready. He didn't come up with this scenario when he entered the bedtime rules into Home Assistant. He steps toward the camera. It's not working, no power. But at the bottom, at the base, is a slot for a memory card. The card is inserted. He pulls it out with his fingernail, carefully, like someone else's thing that shouldn't be touched, but needs to be touched. He puts the card in his hoodie pocket. He gets up. He closes the hatch so that it lies in place. He lifts the lock and figures out how to hang it so that it appears intact. It works. In the bedroom, Mira turned to the wall. She was breathing evenly. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed and held a piece of plastic in his hands. It weighed nothing, but he squeezed his palm. He doesn't sleep until dawn. At 6, when the electricity is turned on and some device in the house makes a short beep, he inserts a card into his laptop in the living room. A folder with rollers. He opens the first one. The recording shows a ladder and a hatch. The time was yesterday, 23:17. At first it's empty. Then the lid opens from the inside. A woman's hand with a bracelet comes down into the frame. A familiar hand. Then knees and leggings. Then Mira. She turns off the light and says in a whisper, "Hey, everything's fine." A man's voice answers quietly. The words are unintelligible. Then you can hear someone opening a container, a rustling sound, pleasant, homey like dinner. Then Mira is sitting on a mattress and holding someone's hand. The camera records this calmly, without drama. 15 minutes later, she gets up and leaves. The hatch closes. Ethan watches two more videos. In one, a man in a hoodie, his face in shadow, walks up the stairs and attaches something to the railing, a second small camera. In the other, Mira comes down again, this time carrying a thermos and something in a bag. The voices are quiet. At one point, she laughs outright, without a hint of weariness, as she hasn't laughed upstairs in a long time. He closes the laptop and sits motionless for a long time. The house wakes up. The refrigerator is making noise. A car is driving out on the street. The cat is walking around the house and demanding food. He gets up, turns on the kettle. Mira comes out to the kitchen in sweatpants and a t-shirt. "Did you sleep?" he asks. So. She pours water into a mug. "Is the electricity back?" "Yes." Pause. He pulls out the memory card and places it on the table between them. "What is this?" She immediately understands. She sits down. "Ethan." "Mira, no one should live there," he says quietly. "This is our home. Why is there a mattress there? Why is there a camera there?" She looks at the map, then at him. For a few seconds, she holds her gaze defensively, then tries to retreat into the familiar. "You got it all wrong. This is—" "I saw the tapes," he interrupts. "You came down at night. You brought food. You talked to him. Who is it?" She is silent for a couple more seconds. Then she lowers her shoulders. She speaks differently, calmly. "His name is Ryan," she says. He was with us. Downstairs. I let him." "For what?" "Because on the surface, I haven't felt alive in a long time," she says, looking out the window. "It wasn't a plan. It just happened. He's from the studio. We became friends. He's not homeless. He works delivery, rents a room somewhere in Berrien, but he's having problems with his landlord, and one day, I know how it sounds. I don't know how I got this far, but it was quiet in the basement, and I could just be. Without schedules and your schedules. Without the endless later." He listens. Each word is simple. There is no excuse in them, but there is a choice. A choice she has already made. "And you decided to bring a man into our house," he says, "and put him downstairs, and set up a camera, and hide it from me. I knew you'd start measuring everything," she says, "that you'd turn it into a bug report, that you'd look for someone to blame, patches, fixes, and I didn't want another procedure. I wanted at least something alive. I know how that sounds. I'm guilty. I know. It's not safe," he says. "It's illegal. It's destructive." "I didn't ask you to forgive me," she replies. "But I'm here for now. I'm not closing the fees. I'm not putting on a show. We can talk to a therapist. Today, I'll make an appointment. I'll go to the guest room. He won't come back. I'll close everything." "He's been here before," Ethan says. "More than once. And the camera was his?" "One is mine. The other is probably his," she admits quietly. "I'm asking you not to call the police. Not to make things worse. We're adults. We can talk." He looks at her, and there are two versions of himself inside him at once. The one that will start scanning the Wi-Fi, turning on additional protection, changing passwords, and the one that will just sit down and say that he is scared and in pain. He chooses the first, because that is what he is used to. "Okay," he says after a pause. "Therapist today. Until then, no basement. I'll change the lock. You give me the phone and all the passwords to the cameras." "Okay," she answers without arguing. "And one more thing," he adds. "I'll be watching, not to punish you, to understand what's going on in my house. I'm not ready to trust you right now. She enters the password on her phone, unfolds the screen. On it are the usual icons, correspondence. She hands it to him without looking. He takes it. The cat rubs against his leg. It's raining again. Ethan feels the house become alien. It's a physical sensation. The walls are there, but the meaning is gone. He closes his eyes for a second, opens them, and says, "I'll be back in the evening with a new lock." "I'll be home," she says. "I'll call the therapist." "Ethan, I'm not asking for forgiveness right now. I'm just asking you not to make any sudden movements." "I won't," he replies. "I'm writing everything down, and I will." He goes into his office, turns on his laptop, and starts writing himself a plan. Change the lock, install a camera on the stairs, monitor network traffic, check access to the NAS, record all movements. He doesn't write because he's confident. He writes because that's all he knows how to do when everything falls apart. At noon, they drive to a small coffee shop at the intersection with Safeway. It's quiet, the radio is playing. They sit in the corner. Mira drinks tea without sugar. Ethan drinks black coffee. "What do you want to hear from me?" she asks. "I want to hear why you didn't come to me," he says. "Why didn't you say, 'I feel bad'? Why did you decide it would be easier to put a man in our basement?" "Because I thought we could handle it. And then it became a system. And I couldn't stop," she answers. "I'm not making excuses. I'm telling it like it is. You have the right to make any decisions. I'll go to therapy. I'm ready to move in with a friend for a while." "Not yet," he says. "We need to talk everything through. I don't want to make decisions based on emotion." They sit in silence. People come in for coffee, go out into the rain. A poster for a local fair hangs on the wall. Two students laugh at the checkout. The world goes on. Their house is also part of this world, not special. But it was there, under the floor, that someone lived, someone ate, someone laughed with his wife. In the evening, Ethan buys a new lock and installs it on the hatch, tests how it closes, signs the package with the removed memory card, and puts it in the safe. In the bedroom, he resets the alarm clock to an earlier time. Tomorrow, a therapist. Today, silence. Before going to bed, he asks, "Will he come again?" "No," Mira answers. "I told him not to come. I stopped everything." He nods. Not because he believes, because he needs to live until tomorrow. The morning starts early. Ethan puts on coffee, opens his laptop, and writes a to-do list. He calls it diagnostics because it helps him keep his head straight. The items are simple. Update sensor firmware, check Wi-Fi access logs, change NAS passwords, set up motion notifications, and prepare a list of questions for the therapist. Mira comes into the kitchen wearing a sports jacket. "I made an appointment for 3 o'clock, she says. "Dr. Linda Coleman, in Ballard. Will that work?" "That'll do," he replies, looking at the screen. "Send me the address." She nods, sits down opposite him, and looks at his notebook. "You turn everything into tasks," he says without ill will. "Is that what's holding you back?" "Yes," he answers, "and it helps me not to scream." "Got it." She takes the cup and takes a sip. "I'm going to the studio for a couple of hours. I'll be back by 2. We'll make it to the doctor's." "I'll work from home," Ethan says. "No basement." "Thank you," she says, keeping her composure. "If it's easier for you, I'll go to Sarah's for the night." "No need for now." He closes the notebook. "Let's try talking." She leaves. Ethan opens Home Assistant, goes to the devices section. There are updates for 2 motion sensors and a hub. He runs the firmware, records the time, adds automation. If there is movement downstairs from midnight to 5, a push notification comes to the phone and a photo from the stairwell camera is saved. Enables logging of all new MAC addresses on the guest network. Goes to the router, enabling the DHCP log. He is not sure whether he will ever see Ryan's device, but he does the best he can. A message from Laura, a manager, arrives on the corporate Slack. "We need to finalize the list of bugs before the release." He types a reply, I'll get to it in an hour. Then he deletes it, writing honestly, I need to take half a day today. Personal matters. I'll close the critical ones tomorrow morning. Pause. Okay, take care, Laura replies. No questions. That helps too. At 11, he takes a snack, looks at the hatch in the hallway. The lock is new, shiny. He is physically pulled down, but he controls himself. He goes to the office, launches a script to monitor traffic on the NAS. If a stream from an unknown device appears, he will receive a notification. Sasha calls from Boston at noon. Are you online? He asks. I looked at the index report. There are some strange jumps. I see. I'll get back to it tomorrow, Ethan says. I need to step away. Is everything okay? Sasha's voice is calm. Not exactly, but I'll figure it out, Ethan says. Thanks. After the call, he looks at his phone. There are no messages from Mira. He types to her. We're at the doctor's at 3. I'll be there. She replies, I'll wait at the entrance. Thank you for coming with me. By 2 o'clock, the sky is a steady gray. Ethan drives to Ballard and parks in front of a low building with a sign that says Counseling Center. The lobby is quiet. Laminated sheets of paper with information about boundaries and privacy hang on the wall. It smells of coffee and Kleenex. Mira sits in a chair by the window, scrolling through her phone. She looks tired but collected. You're here, she says, standing up. I'm here, he replies. Dr. Coleman is a woman in her 60s with short gray hair and glasses. She greets you and invites you into her office. Inside there are chairs, a table, a box of tissues, and a quiet heater. I don't know where it would be easier for you to start, the doctor says in a calm voice. I'm listening. Ethan doesn't like long introductions, so he speaks first. Briefly, about the night recordings, about the hatch, about the smell, about the memory card, about the conversation in the morning. He speaks without details, like he's writing a report. Mira listens, holding her hands on her knees. I brought him into the house, she says when the doctor asks her to tell him. It was the wrong decision. I knew I was betraying his trust. I wasn't making excuses. I was lonely, even though we lived together. I wanted to feel seen. The basement was quiet. Ethan was busy with work. He's always busy. I'm not making excuses. I want to understand how we got here. Why a basement? Asks the doctor. Why not a hotel or someone else's apartment? Because the basement is nearby, says Mira. It's control. It's the ability to go down at any moment and see that everything is at hand. It was stupid and dangerous, and it was easier for me to close my eyes. Ethan looks at her. There's no pathos in her voice, no attempt to make this seem like something out of a movie. This is simple human error taken to extremes. I want security, he tells the doctor. I want to understand what's going on in my house. I want to know that no one is coming in without my knowledge. I want her to tell me straight out that he's not coming back. He won't come, says Mira. I told him I can show the correspondence. I believe in words, but I need actions, Ethan replies. We need rules. The doctor nods. Rules are useful, she says. They help you take a break when emotions are strong. I suggest introducing a temporary regime for the next 2 weeks. No guests in the house. Access to the basement only by agreement. Phones and cameras transparency. A shared schedule of meetings and daily routines. Each person gets an hour a day without discussion to do what helps. This could be sports, a walk, meeting a friend. You are both adults, you have work, daily routines. You need structure. I agree, Ethan says. I'll put another camera on the stairs and a sensor on the hatch. Not to monitor her as a person, but to avoid surprises. Mira sighs but nods. Okay, he says. And I want my own rules too. No reading of my correspondence without my consent. I'll show you the correspondence with Ryan so you can see that it's finished. But beyond that, boundaries. Ethan, you know how to clean up. Try not to turn the house into a server room. I need air too. I don't promise perfect behavior, he replies, but I hear. The doctor asks them to write down the rules on paper. They write, exchange sheets of paper, and discuss the points. The conversation is slow, but without sugar. At the end, the doctor says, "The next meeting is in a week. If it gets worse, write. The main topics are safety, trust, and respect for each other's time. You are both at an age when life changes. Children?" he asks. "No," Mira answers. "Then let's talk about future elections," the doctor adds. "That's also part of the job." On the way out, Ethan feels slightly tired, like after a long planning meeting. Not easy, but it's clear what to do until the evening. "Thank you for coming," Mira says at the door. "Shall we go home?" "Let's go," he answers. "We'll stop by the store on the way. We need to stock up for the week." It's a Saturday night crowd at Trader Joe's. They walk the aisles in silence, then begin to discuss their lists. The usual: eggs, salad, chicken, yogurt, coffee. Mira puts almonds and dark chocolate in her basket. Ethan picks up a package of batteries. They argue about whether to get the frozen lasagna, a discussion that echoes the conversations of previous weeks. It's a mundane scene, and that makes it a little more stable. At the checkout, the cashier asks how their day is. Mira smiles politely. Ethan says, "Fine." Outside, the rain gets heavier. In the car, they listen to the radio. On the way home, Mira says, "I'll text Ryan again today to say it's final. No meetings. No calls. Do you want to see this message?" "Yes," he answers. "And I want you not to go to the studio alone in the evening until we've finished talking. If you need to pick something up, I'll go with you." "Okay," she says without irritation. At home, they put away the groceries. Ethan installs a hatch sensor. He connects it to the hub, checks the notifications. Everything is green in the app. He looks up and sees Mira standing next to him, watching. "I know what it looks like," he says, "but it makes me feel better." "Do it," she replies. "Just tell me if you plan to change anything in the house, so I don't jump at the notifications." Agreed. At 6, they have chicken and salad for dinner. The conversation is intermittent. They discuss work, Vince's neighbor, his new shelving in the garage. Then they talk about when to visit her parents in Tacoma. Her mother's birthday is in 2 weeks. They decide not to cancel. Before going to bed, Mira brings him a phone. "I wrote it," she says. "Here." On the screen is a short message. "Ryan, it's over. Don't come to my house or text me. This is final." He replies, "Understood." No drama. "Thanks," Ethan says. "Will you delete the chat?" Yes. She demonstrates how she archives the correspondence. "And I will no longer respond if he crosses the line. I'll tell you right away." He nods. They lie down. The lights are off. 10 minutes later, Ethan's phone vibrates softly. Hatch sensor closed. This is his own test. He runs his hand over the sensor himself, closes it, and watches the system work. He puts his phone away. "Did you hear that?" Mira asks. "Yes, it's a test," he replies. "Okay," she says wearily. "I'm not against tests. I'm against living in an interrogation room. Let's try to speak with words, not sensors." "I'll try," he replies. The next day, he goes to the company's office in downtown Seattle. He's been working from home for a long time, but now he needs a change of air. The office is half empty. He sits in a conference room by the window and goes out to answer a call with Laura. "Are you okay?" she asks. "Right now, yes," he answers. "I'll catch up with the release. I'll close the bugs by the evening." "Don't be a hero," says Laura. "We can move some of the tasks to next week." "No need," he says. "I just want to do things that are understandable." He opens the task list, comments, moves the cards. Work, as always, gathers his thoughts into one line. During a break, he goes to a nearby coffee shop for a sandwich. A notification comes to his phone. "Guest network. New device not found." This is his script on the NAS. Empty, and that's good. Mira calls during the day. "I'll stop by Sarah's for an hour," she says. "We'll discuss the exhibition. I'll be back at 5. Do I need to pick up anything for dinner? Take the asparagus, he says, and don't forget the drawing from your niece. You promised to hang it up. I remember. At home in the evening, they hang the children's drawing in the hallway by the guest room. Mira writes a My Hour list on a piece of paper, morning run, meeting a friend on Thursday, one-on-one with a therapist on Friday. Ethan writes his morning workout, evening walk along the embankment twice a week, meeting Sasha at a sports bar for a football match. They tape the lists to the refrigerator. It feels like normal life, Mira says. That's normal life, he replies, only with big remarks. Yes, she agrees, and with a camera on the stairs. The camera will stay, he says. I don't argue, she looks straight ahead. I have a rule too. If something triggers both of us, we talk about the reaction. We don't remain silent, and we don't punish with silence. Okay, he replies. Let's talk. It rained again that night. The house breathes with ordinary sounds. Ethan wakes up a couple of times, looks at his phone. No notifications. At 4, he goes to the kitchen to get water. The papers with the schedule on the refrigerator are firmly attached. He sits on a stool and for the first time in days feels like he has at least a temporary support. Rules, steps, a schedule. Returning to the bedroom, he pauses at the hatch. The lock is closed. Quiet. He places his palm on the lid. 2 seconds and removes his hand. This time he does not open it. The morning after the therapist passes without further conversation. On the refrigerator are 2 sheets of paper listing their hours and rules. Ethan types another one, access to the basement, and sticks it with a magnet nearby. Read, he says. If something's wrong, we'll fix it. Mira comes closer. On the sheet in points. The hatch is always closed. Access only for 2 people. Before the descent, a message to the second one. Do not turn off cameras and sensors. No guests in the house. Point 5 is obvious, she says. I agree. Can I add something about not changing anything without warning? I'll add, he nods and writes the 6th. Changes in the system only with notification. Thank you, Mira replies. I'm going to a quick meeting downtown. I'll be back by 2. Okay, he says. I'll stop by Ace Hardware. I need to get extra hinges and a new cylinder for the hatch. The one I have is cheap. Just please don't put anything in there that I can't open later. She looks straight ahead. I won't, he replies. When she leaves, the house is quiet. Ethan opens his laptop, checks the rules in the Home Assistant. Everything is green. He goes into his office, takes a small black camera out of the box, a spare one he bought a couple of years ago for the garage. He stares at it in his palm for a long moment. Then he goes out into the hallway and, standing on a stepladder, screws the camera under the bottom step of the stairs, pointing it at the space in front of the hatch. Nothing looks different. A new device appears in the app. He names it Shelf Sensor, so as not to be too obvious. The next step is the network. He takes a Raspberry Pi out of the box, connects a USB Wi-Fi adapter to it, and places it next to the ventilation grill in the hallway, where it leads to the basement. The task is simple. Log all new MAC addresses and attempt to connect to the guest network. He writes a script and runs it. There is an empty line on the screen. He feels like he is at work. Clear steps, clear conclusions. By 11, he's at Ace Hardware, a small store, a familiar salesman with a badge that says Louis. Ethan buys a lock cylinder, a set of screws, graphite grease. He also picks up a set of rubber pipe seals just because they're on hand and might come in handy. At the checkout, Louis says, It's raining again. Is your roof making noise too? We're used to it, Ethan replies. At home, he changes the cylinder on the hatch. He does everything carefully. He puts the old one in a box and signs it. He checks the new one with a key. It opens clearly. Then he tightens the lower hinge so that the lid fits tighter. He puts a box of tools on a shelf nearby and moves the tape measure a couple of centimeters. It's a small thing, but he wants to see if anyone notices. He changes the night schedule on the thermostat. The temperature on the first floor now drops 2 degrees lower after midnight. On the stairwell motion sensor, he changes the backlight switch-off delay from 30 seconds to 15. Mira arrives at 2. She looks at the hatch. "Have you changed everything already?" he asks. "Just the cylinder," he replies, "and I lubricated the hinges. Want to test it?" She inserts her key. It turns out everything works. "Thank you for telling me," she says. He nods. He doesn't mention the camera under the step. He doesn't mention minor shifts either. Their rules include a clause about notifications. He violates it on the very first day. He understands this and puts it in a separate internal folder called Explain Later. During the day, he works remotely. He closes a couple of tasks, writes comments on other people's PR. They discuss a bug in the index in the corporate chat. Sasha writes, "Meeting in the evening." "I can at 7 Moscow time," Ethan replies. The familiar rhythm helps him breathe. At 4, Mira goes for a run. On the fridge in the morning, she wrote, "My time is running." Ethan puts the kettle on, sits by the window with a laptop. On the screen are empty Pi logs. He turns on background music. At 6, he gets a push. Guest network. Unknown MAC. Signal strength is low. A second later, rejected. He jumps up, looks at the details. The address is unknown. The mask looks like an old adapter of some phone. The attempt was for a second. The access point did not let him in. He takes a screenshot. He writes to himself in notes, 1758 attempt to connect. Signal strength is weak, possibly from a car outside. Mira returns. Her cheeks are pink. Her breathing is even. He looks at her and keeps his mouth closed. They have pasta with asparagus and salad for dinner. The conversation is a little lighter than yesterday. She asks his manager about the new exhibition in the center. "We've been given a grant for the fall program," she says. "We need volunteers for editing. Do you have enough energy on Saturday?" "I can do it for a couple of hours," he replies. "Remind me a day in advance." Agreed. Sasha calls in the evening. They talk about the code. Ethan finds himself talking about the work confidently and clearly. When he finishes, a push comes. The hatch is closed. This is his own test. He pressed the lid with his palm and let go again. He understands that it is funny, but the sound of the phone makes him feel better. "Have you done anything with the heating?" Mira asks from the living room. "It's gotten cooler downstairs." "I lower it by 2 degrees at night," he says. "It's calmer that way, and drier." "Warn me," she replies. "I don't mind. I'll just throw a blanket on." "Okay," he says. The next day, they drive to her sister Angela's house for brunch. The house is in West Seattle, overlooking the bay. The kitchen smells of toast and bacon. Angela's husband, Chris, in a gray sweatshirt, pours coffee. "Good to see you," he says. "The Mariners screwed up again. Did you see the game?" "I was working," Ethan replies. Angela hugs Mira tightly. The usual family matters take up the first 20 minutes. Health, plans, who's going where for Thanksgiving. Then Angela looks at Mira more closely. "You're pale," she says. "Is everything okay?" Mira looks at Ethan and says, "We're working on our relationship. We went to a therapist. Rules, a schedule. We need order." "Good idea," Angela nods. 40 is no joke. Everything falls apart if you don't hold it with your hands. Chris places an extra plate on the table. "Work hasn't been canceled," he says. "Angela and I also went to a therapist a couple of years ago. At least it helped us not to do stupid things in the heat of the moment." Ethan hears the word stupid and looks down into his mug. Mira holds herself steady. They don't share details, but the tension is palpable. Angela suggests that they all go to the fall fair together in a week. Mira agrees, and so does Ethan. They agree to meet in Lincoln Park. They are silent on the way home. In the tunnel on 99th, Mira says, "Thanks for coming. Angela is breathing down my neck, but she's not a mean person." "I don't mind," he replies. "It's good that I don't have just one home and work." At home, he goes to the garage and takes an old smart lock access card out of the box, the one they used for the cleaning lady. He enters it into the system as a guest card, but sets a schedule. Not active at night, and after 8 p.m., he now sees the entry codes by time. He knows it's a line, but he needs a sense of control. He goes to the kitchen and says, I updated the lock. Your key and code always work. The guest one only during the day, just so no one can try at night. I understand, says Mira. Thank you for explaining. He doesn't say that he replaced her code with a new one and entered the old one as a backup. It's unlikely that this will ever be necessary, but he did it. That evening, they go to the local corner cafe, C&P Coffee. It's quiet. At the next table, two men are discussing boat motors. Mira gets tea, Ethan an espresso. They talk about their plans for the week. Mira suggests going back to yoga. Ethan suggests working out in the evenings. They discuss the same things couples their age discuss: sleep, back pain, vitamins, insurance. It doesn't solve the main problem, but it keeps the conversation on the surface. At night, Ethan wakes up to a short vibration on his phone. Guest network, unknown MAC, signal strength average. A second later, rejected. He checks the log. The time is 1:42. The signal is stronger than yesterday. He goes out into the hallway. The hatch is in place. It's quiet. He listens to the ventilation, a light cold draft. The smell of tobacco is barely noticeable. He stands there for a minute. Return to the bedroom. In the morning, he notices that the tape measure is lying on the rack by the hatch exactly as he left it. But the box with the screws is shifted a centimeter, or so it seems to him. He takes a photo to compare later. This is a game he started, and he is drawn into it. He understands that this line is thin, but he can't do otherwise. During the day, he goes to the office. At lunch, Sasha invites him to the food truck near Pioneer Square. They get tacos, stand under the awning. You're pale, Sasha says without joking. Do you want to talk? No details, Ethan says. Mira and I work. There are rules, therapist. I look at things as a system, so I don't get upset. It's fine, Sasha nods. Just don't turn the house into a project. In projects, people are part of the system, but in houses, people are the goal. Different logic. I'll take that into consideration, Ethan says. I'm trying. If you want to drink beer and talk without advice, just say so, Sasha adds. And you can go to a baseball game, too. It doesn't cure, but it distracts you. Agreed, he replies. In the evening, at home, Mira lays out the catalogs from the art center on the table. Her voice is livelier when she talks about new artists, about deadlines, about the jury. Ethan listens, asks questions. He catches himself on the fact that he likes it when she speaks like this without caution, with business in hand. This is also important. Before going to bed, he goes to the hatch. His hand automatically falls on the key. He inserts it, turns it slightly, checks the operation. Everything is smooth. He closes it, because that's what was agreed upon. His hidden camera blinks quietly under the step. There's silence on the phone. At night, he is suddenly awakened by a barely noticeable smell. It is tobacco. Fresh, soft. He switches on in the dark, goes out into the hallway. The floor by the hatch is clean, like yesterday. He looks up. There is a thin line of dust on the railing of the stairs, as if a finger had been run along it. Anyone could have done it, or no one. He goes back to the bedroom. On the nightstand next to his pillow is a small grayish crumb of ash. He takes it with the tip of a piece of paper, throws it in the trash. Is everything okay? Mira whispers without opening her eyes. Everything's fine, he replies. Sleep. He lies down and looks at the ceiling. His rules work on paper. In life, not completely. He understands that the next step will not be about sensors, and not about cylinders. But today, he chooses not to wake the house. He writes everything down, and wait. The morning begins with a notification in the mail. The subject of the letter without text, for your logs. The sender is a random set of letters on a free service. Ethan opens it in the browser. Inside is a link to the cloud and a short signature. Look more carefully. He briefly thinks that it would be better to delete it right away, but he opens it. A folder with clips. The titles are time and date. The first clip is of their bedroom. The picture is clear. The angle is from the level of the socket by the chest of drawers. He sees himself going to bed, sees Mira coming later, sitting on the edge of the bed, sitting silently for a long time. No intimate shots, but the very fact of the recording breaks the peace. He starts the second clip. It's morning. He gets up, reaches for his phone. The third is an empty room, light from the window. The fourth is Mira sitting down on his side of the bed and using a thin stick from an ashtray to draw a barely noticeable downward arrow on the pillow. Then she shakes the ashes back, takes the pillow, pats it, and as if by accident turns it the other way. Ethan pauses the video. His heart is pounding, but his breathing is steady. He takes a screenshot of the arrow and closes the window. He checks the email headers. Nothing useful. He goes into the bedroom and peers into the outlet by the dresser. There's a white USB block plugged in, bought once to try. He pulls it out and turns it over. A tiny lens is visible in the hole for the lead. A camera charger. Cheap and effective. Peace, he calls. She comes out of the shower in a towel, her hair wet. What? He shows her the charger. He puts the phone with the screenshot next to him. It was here, and here is the arrow you drew. She looks for about 5 seconds, then sits on the edge of the bed. That's not my camera, she says. She doesn't raise her voice. And I only drew the arrow once. It was stupid. I knew Ryan could see the house, and I don't know why I did it. Like a marker that I was. Here. I know how that sounds. That was before the therapist. I'm not making excuses. When you put the sign up, you knew it was facing our bedroom, Ethan clarifies calmly. I knew he saw something. I didn't think so. It's disgusting, she says. Give me the phone. I'll text him that this is the end, and that if he continues, I'll go to the police. Right, Ethan replies, and we'll put the camera in a bag and seal it, and I'll check every outlet in the house. Check, she nods. He goes through the rooms with a small tester, looks at chargers, night lights, alarm sensors. Find nothing else. Returns to the bedroom mirror, shows the correspondence. Ryan, you have invaded my home. This is the last line. Don't come, don't write, don't follow. This is final. The answer comes 5 minutes later. Got it. Without emotion. Send me a screenshot, Ethan says. I sent it, she replies. He takes the camera to the garage, puts it in a Ziploc bag, signs the date and time with a marker. Put it in the safe. On the desk in the office, he opens the router, changes the master password, disables the guest network, creates a separate VLAN for the cameras, and turns on client isolation. He writes a rule that will immediately cut off access and send him a notification whenever a new device is added. There are a dozen tabs on the laptop and a mug of cold coffee on the desk. Are you okay? Mira asks from the doorway. I do what I can, he replies. It's not about trusting you. It's about safety. I understand, she says. I'll go downtown. I'll be back by 3. If you want, we can go down to the basement together and check. At 4, he answers. She leaves. The house is quiet again. At 2, Laura calls. A reminder about the release. We need your approval by this evening. I'll be back by 5, Ethan says. I have a situation. Okay? Hang in there, she replies shortly. At 4, Mir returns. They are standing by the hatch. Ethan points to the clause in the rules, access by 2 people. She nods. He opens the lock, goes down first, turns on the flashlight on his phone. The basement is clean, like yesterday. A mattress, a table, a tin can ashtray, and also on the air duct, closer to the ceiling, a magnetic pad with a tiny black dot. He raises his hand, takes a picture. It's a mini camera with an autonomous battery. This one is not mine, he says. And not mine, Mira answers. He could have put it in earlier. Or at night, Ethan says. I tried to connect to the network. The signal from the nearest car is also possible. but it is already here. Let's pack this too, she says tiredly. They get up, put the camera in a bag, and sign it. Ethan finds a foil case in the drawer and puts both bags inside. They're not the police, but at least they have order. I don't want to see anything foreign in the house anymore, he says. And me, she replies. In the evening, he sits down at the computer, trying to get back to the release. There are 2 reminders in the chat. He reads the diff, puts a couple of comments. At this time, the phone vibrates. Attempt to log into the admin panel from a third-party IP has been blocked. He switches to the log. Someone brute forces the old router address. He changes the port, enabling double factor. He writes to Laura, I won't be able to do it on time today. Postpone my approval until tomorrow. In response, too bad, we'll try without you. 10 minutes later, a message arrives in the general channel. The release is postponed until tomorrow. He closes the laptop and sits in the darkness of the office. The list has 1 item down, reliability. Did you move the release? Mira asks from the hallway. I failed, he replies. It's on me. I'm sorry, she says. It's not about guilt, he says, keeping his voice low. I'm simply stating a fact. At night, he spreads out a blanket and pillow on the living room sofa. He says his back hurts. In reality, he wants to be closer to the hatch. He has the Home Assistant panel open on his phone. Motion, sound, temperature. He sets the notification volume to loud. At 1 in the morning, there is a short beep, a draft. At 2, silence. At 3, new device blocked. He jumps up and goes to the window. The street is empty. Only headlights in the distance. He comes back and sits on the floor opposite the stairs. That's how he falls asleep. In the morning, the coffee is bitter. There are a dozen logs on the phone. Nothing critical. He washes up, sits down at the laptop, and writes to Laura, ready to close this morning before noon. There is silence in response. At 9, there is a Zoom call. Ethan, we had to roll back some changes, Laura says without pressure. The team is holding, but we need you back on schedule. I'll be back, he replies. Yesterday, I did what I thought was right at home. Do what you need to do at home, she says. But we need you and your brain too. Let's be honest. Sasha will take the night shifts. You take the daytime tasks. I agree, he says. Thank you. After the call, he goes outside. It's chilly. The neighbors' lilacs are already without flowers, and there are wet leaves on the sidewalk. He walks to the corner and back, just to let his body come to normal. Another letter arrives during the day from the same anonymous address. Inside is 1 short fragment. It shows the kitchen at night. The camera is similar to the one in the bedroom. Mira is in a t-shirt, opens the window, and looks into the darkness for a long time. Then she takes a small piece of paper out of her jacket pocket, writes something, and puts it under the magnet on the refrigerator. In the morning, the magnet is in a different place. Ethan rewinds it several times. 3 words are visible on the paper. Later, downstairs, quiet. He goes to the kitchen. The magnet is in place. Underneath is their schedule. No notes. He sits down and waits for Mira to return from the art center. Will you show me what you left last night? He asks without preamble when she enters. She takes off her coat and looks at him for a long time. Yes, she says. She goes to the refrigerator and pulls a small piece of paper out of the note drawer. Her handwriting is on it. Later, downstairs, quiet. That was 3 days ago. Before the therapist, I tried to put a period there, and I didn't. I didn't know you were being filmed. I didn't know you were being filmed at all. That's not an excuse. I don't do that anymore. Someone took this and sent it to me, he says. So someone is still around, even if you don't write notes like that anymore. I'll write to him again that this is stalking, she says. And I'll tell him about it at the next session. I don't want to live in a house where we're being watched. Me too, he replies. But until I figure out exactly how he got access, I'm not going to stop checking. Check, she says. But please don't break my everyday things without warning. You've changed the lock so that sometimes it won't open the first time. He pauses. I set the auto lock to a short time, he says honestly, so that the lid wouldn't remain slightly open. It could get into someone's hands. Tell me when you change something, she asks. I don't want to play against you. Agreed, he nods. In the evening, he comes to the arts center to help move boxes with posters. A large hall, the smell of paint, employees carrying stands and lights. Mira talks to two volunteer students. Ethan helps load into the truck, silently doing his part. At some point, a tall man in a baseball cap approaches him. Are you Ethan? He asks. Yes. I'm Mike, I work delivery, he says. Ryan and I sometimes take shifts together. He's been weird lately. You be careful, okay? He's not mean, but he's got bad boundaries. Thanks for the information, Ethan replies. What are you getting at now? I just mean that sometimes people don't stop where they're supposed to, Mike says. If I need to, I can tell him to back off. I'm not butting in, it's just, we're in the same area. No need to pass anything on, Ethan says. It's family, but thank you. When he and Mira go outside, he talks about the conversation. I don't want you to talk to his friends, Mira says quietly. It will start a chain reaction. Let's keep the boundaries. Through a therapist, through rules. If it gets really bad, the police. I agree, he replies. I wasn't looking for anyone. He came to me himself. At night, he is on the couch again. Green indicators on the phone. At 2 o'clock, silence. At 3, vibration. Movement near the stairs. He jumps up. The light in the hallway turns on. The screen shows a blank frame, only the ventilation curtain moves. He listens. No steps, no rustling. He goes to the kitchen, drinks water, and comes back. On the pillow on the couch, there is a thin gray crumb. He smiles without joy. Signals have become part of everyday life. In the morning, he writes in his notebook, close the release before lunch. Check the sockets once a week. Change the password on the cloud. Call the doctor on Friday. He moves the blanket closer to the stairs. He takes out an extra nightlight from the closet and places it so that the beam goes to the hatch. Mira enters the living room and sees this post. Are you going to live by the hatch? He asks calmly. Temporarily, he replies, until I figure out what's going on. It feels like a loop, she says. If it makes you feel safer, fine. But let's not forget about life up there. Dinner's at Angela's tonight, remember? I remember, he answers. Let's go. I'll set up an automatic alert for my neighbor. If there's movement, he'll call. Okay, she nods. He sets up a trusted contact in the app for his neighbor Vince, writing briefly, if there is a siren, call me. Vince replies with a smiley face and okay. It's not a friendship, but a working relationship. The release does come out in the afternoon. Laura ticks the tracker. Sasha writes, good job. Ethan closes his laptop and listens to the house for a second. It's quiet. He knows that silence is no guarantee of safety, but today he's set up another small barrier. Before leaving for Angela, he checks the hatch, the lock, and the notifications. Their schedule is in the fridge. No new notes. He takes his jacket and keys. Mira puts on her coat. Are we okay? She asks at the door. If we talk and keep boundaries, he replies. And if no one lives in our basement. No one will, she says. They walk out into the drizzle. Ethan locks the door, checks his phone again. Green lights. He walks to his car and feels his life shift closer to the stairs, not forever, but for a long time. On Saturday morning, the doorbell rings. On the threshold is a policeman in a blue jacket with the city emblem and a second, younger one with a tablet. Good morning, the senior says. Officer Patel and Officer Johnson. We got a call from a neighbor about strange noises in your neighborhood last night. We wanted to make sure everything was okay. Mira appears next to him, wearing a sweater and with her hair pulled back. It's probably the dryer, she says calmly, and the cat is kicking a ball down the hall. We had a power outage recently, and everything is acting weird. I understand, Officer Patel nods. Does anyone live downstairs? Do you rent out part of the house? There was mention of a basement. No, Ethan says, standing up straight. Nobody lives there. The basement is locked. Things are stored there. You can show that everything is okay, and we will leave, Johnson adds. My wife will change now, says Mira. I'll come down with you. But we have a rule. Only 2 people go down to the basement. The policemen exchange glances. The rule doesn't interest them much, but they're not going to argue. They go into the hall. Ethan opens the hatch, turns on the light. Downstairs is the familiar scene of the last few days. A mattress, a table, empty containers, everything is clean. No people, no bags. It smells like tobacco, Officer Patel notes. The neighbor smokes in the garage. Our ventilation is drafty, says Mira. We've already called the technicians. They'll take a look. The officer makes a note on his tablet. If you hear anything again, write down the time. If anyone tries to get in, call them, he says. And please don't leave the hatch open. Security. Got it, Ethan nods. The door closes. Vince raises his hand from the neighbor's garage like, everything okay? Ethan nods silently. The cat and the dryer, Mira says, putting the key away. They don't listen any other way anyway. Are you okay? Yeah, Ethan says. That's not the conversation I wanted to have at the door. Let's finish this and go grocery shopping, she suggests. You wanted to have a barbecue, right? He did send out invitations. Sam from the team promised to come with his wife, Vince with his wife, Angela with Chris too. He thought that the people in the house would help restore some order from above. He also thought that an open hatch on a noisy day would lure out, if not a person, then at least a trace. He didn't call it a trap out loud, but he had a plan. At noon, he and Mira buy meat, corn, and gas for the grill. On the way back, Mira says, I'll go downtown for half an hour, check the editing. I'll be back by 4. Is that okay? It's fine, he replies. At home, he sets up the table, washes the grate, and checks the gas. In the hall, as if by accident, he leaves the hatch to the basement loosely closed. Not wide open, but so that the gap is visible to anyone who knows where to look. He sets a trigger on his phone. If the sensor by the hatch is open for more than 5 seconds, a siren sounds on his phone and a notification to his neighbor. At 4, Vince and his wife Mary arrive. The porch smells of smoke, and it's just drizzling. Vince claps Ethan on the shoulder. You've got a good setup, he says. In this dampness, the only thing that saves you is the grill. Let's hope so, Ethan says, nervous but keeping a straight face. 20 minutes later, Angela and Chris arrive. Angela brings a salad. Mira opens the door for them, hugs her sister. Sam and his wife are half an hour late due to traffic on I-5. You look tired, Mary says as the women hang blankets on chairs. We've already got night sounds going on in the Hoa chat. I texted yesterday to calm everyone down. Thank you, Mira replies. We've sorted everything out. Our sensors were glitching. Ethan notes how quickly and clearly she gives the official version. Not a shadow of unnecessary detail. It would be ideal if the version coincided with reality. The guests eat corn, joke about the weather. Chris talks about working at the docks. Sam drives up, brings in beer. Conversations are disjointed. Ethan walks between the grill and the table, watching the hallway. The hatch is visible from the living room, where the jackets are folded. He passes by, accidentally, a few times, checking the crack. No notifications. You're acting like a security guard today, Mira whispers as she passes by. Relax for at least an hour. Afterwards, yes, he answers. By 6 o'clock, it's almost dark. He decides it's time. He calls Vince over. Can you help me take one box out of the basement? He says, I just lost my tripod. I think it's there. Let's go, Vince replies. They both enter the house. Ethan ostentatiously opens the hatch, turns on the light, and goes down first. Vince is standing on the stairs. Ethan glances down and stops. It's empty downstairs. Not clean, like in the morning, but empty. No mattress, no table, no jar of ashes, empty concrete, as if nothing had ever been there. And where, he says quietly. What are you looking for? Vince leans over. It doesn't matter, Ethan says, feeling the blood drain from his face. He backs up and closes the hatch. Did you find it? Mary asks from the living room. No, I thought I left my tripod there, Ethan says. I imagined it. A minute before, a notification flashed on his phone. Shelf sensor unavailable. The camera under the step suddenly disappeared from the network. He goes to the office, opens the panel. The basement folder is empty. The logs are erased. The folder name is still there. The time of the last modification was a few minutes ago. Mira stands in the doorway of the office. What happened? He asks. Someone cleaned out everything downstairs, he answers calmly, trying to keep his voice even. And my records are gone. Right now. She furrows her brow. Can you not do this in the middle of the evening? Her voice is not sharp, but you can hear her making a choice. We have guests. People have come. You're taking the conversation to yourselves. He takes a breath. These are not my cameras. These are traces. At the exact moment when there were people in the house, someone came in and cleaned everything up. Or you took it all out yesterday and forgot, she says a little louder for the audience. You haven't slept for 2 weeks. You move everything half a centimeter. You set up sensors and traps. Maybe you didn't even make notes, and then you made it up. The conversation in the living room dies down. Angela takes a step towards them. Guys, is everything okay? She asks. Mira turns to her. It's okay. Ethan is reconfiguring the house. He's tired. We'll manage. Let's go outside, Ethan says. It's hot in the house. They walk out. Sam talks about the Seahawks game. Mary reminisces about her vacation. Ethan nods inappropriately, counting his moves inside. If Ryan was downstairs, how did he get in? The smart lock showed no fingerprints. The guest network is off. The neighbor didn't see anyone else's cars, so it was a spare key. Or did Mira open the door? He looks at Marina's palm on the glass. She notices the look. Please don't make a show of it, she says quietly. I didn't open it. I didn't even come down. Then he did it himself, Ethan answers just as quietly. At a time when we have a house full of people. Or are you now using the guests as a cover for your checks? She also chose a side to keep a straight face in front of everyone and then speak. I'm getting tired of your systems. After dessert, the guests leave. Vince lingers at the gate. I won't pry into your life, he says, but if you need a camera on the street, I have an extra one. Let me know. Thank you, Ethan replies. At home, they are silent while they clear the table. Then Mira speaks first. Do you really think that I just came down and cleaned everything in front of guests? For what? I don't know, he answers honestly. I only know that everything disappeared and that my records were erased. Or you didn't write them down, she repeats. Or you renamed the folder to Basement 2 and forgot about it. Ethan, I'm not laughing. I'm saying this is starting to feel like an obsession. You sleep in the living room, listen to the hatch, test the sensors at night. The house has become a project, not a place where we live. The house became a project when you moved a man into it, he says evenly, and when that man put a camera in our bedroom. I'm not defending it, she replies. I stopped it. You don't hear the second part. I go to therapy. I closed all the channels. I didn't open the hatch. If he came, it's a violation. We go to the police. But you have to pay for that too. Protocols, explanations, neighbors. Are you ready for that? Or is it more important for you to have a folder with logs and the right tracker? It's important to me that anyone who has already tried to enter my house doesn't come in again, he says. Then tomorrow morning, I'll go to the police station and write a statement, she says. Will you come with me? And we'll tell you everything. About the recording in the bedroom, too. And we'll explain why you left the hatch ajar during the barbecue. He's silent for a second. His plan to call it a trap in the police report isn't the best idea, but he can't keep quiet. Yes, he says, let's go, and I'll gather everything I have left in advance. Letters from anonymous mail, screenshots, cameras. Okay, she replies, and now I'm going to sleep in the bedroom. You stay wherever you want. I'm tired. Go, he says. She leaves. He stays in the living room, sits without a phone for half an hour, then finally turns on the laptop. The Home Assistant panel is empty. He logs into the NAS via the terminal, searches by name mask. Find the file. Trash basement log TMP. Open it. Emptiness. The erasure was complete. Someone knew the system or was very lucky when the disks were unmounted for an update. He did not update, so access with administrator rights. He looks at the list of users. His login. Mir's login. Guest disabled. No new ones. This is either a vulnerability on the part of the router or access to his laptop. He changes the master password again and turns on the hardware key. He understands that this will not solve the problem tonight, but it is a step. In the morning, they drive to the station. The hallway smells of bleach, and there are safety posters on the wall. The desk sergeant takes the statement. Ethan calmly recounts the facts, shows the printouts. The sergeant asks questions about his acquaintance with the alleged participant. Was he in your house with your consent, he asks. He was, Mira says, not letting go of his gaze. I made a mistake. There's no access now, but he keeps interfering. We'll accept the report, the sergeant says. But you must understand, without direct evidence and without threats, it's difficult for us to act. Do you have cameras? Is there any video left? Some of the footage has been erased, Ethan says, but we have clips he sent himself. Send it to the general address, the sergeant nods. We'll give him a written warning if we identify him. And if you see him, don't engage in conversation. Call 911. At the exit, Mira sits down on a bench. We'll have a case number now, she says. At least it's some kind of line. It's better than sitting by the hatch, he replies. You'll still be sitting by the hatch, she says. I know you. He doesn't argue. He drives to the office during the day. Sam comes up with coffee. You were on edge yesterday, Sam says. Everything okay? We're having a tough week, Ethan replies. Thanks for coming. Mary said you've become like a guard at your own stairwell, Sam chuckles. Brother, just don't get lost in it. I'm working, Ethan says and sits down to do his tasks. In the evening at home, Mira cooks soup. They eat in silence. After the meal, she says, I made an appointment for us to see Dr. Coleman on Tuesday. I want to discuss how to talk to the family. Angela saw us arguing. I don't want anyone else to make up our minds for us. I agree, he replies. We'll tell you ourselves that we have a crisis and that we're working, without details. And without any traps, she adds. He nods. Before going to bed, he checks the hatch again. The lock is intact. The sensors are green. It leaves no gaps. There are no new messages on the phone. He lies down on the sofa, turns off the light, and thinks about only one thing. Where else is there a hole in his system? And how to live so that, from above, does not finally turn into a security post. There are no answers. There is only the next step not to repeat today's scene with the guests and to speak frankly at the session. On Tuesday, they go back to see Dr. Coleman. The waiting room is quiet, and the receptionist is sorting through folders at the desk. In the office, the doctor nods to them both. How have the last few days been? We filed a police report, says Mira, and made the rules stricter, but it's unsettling at night. I did close the release, Ethan adds. I work normally during the day, and I'm on the phone at night. I still keep an eye on the house. The doctor listens and writes down. You need to do more than just block threats, she says. You need to bring normal things back into your schedule. Sleep, food, communication without the topics of basement and cameras. I suggest something specific. 2 evenings a week without talking about home, and 1 evening a week a common solution to practical problems. bills, shopping, plans. Separately about family. Did you want to talk with your sister and parents? Yes, Mira answers. Mom's birthday is coming up in Tacoma. We'll go, but I don't want to discuss the details. Let's just say we're in a crisis, working with a therapist. I agree, the doctor nods. One more point, emergency protocol. If an emergency occurs, a power outage, a break-in, you don't argue. You have pre-agreed roles, who calls, who records, who stays at the door. This will reduce chaos. I'll make one, Ethan says, and I'll buy an analog recorder. Offline. Okay, the doctor looks at Mira. What do you need? I need a place in my home where there are no cameras, she says. The living room. We agreed that there would only be cameras on the stairs and outside. Let it stay that way. Agreed, Ethan says. I'll put it in the rules. On the way out, they stop at a small diner across the street. Tables by the window, menu on a board. Mira gets soup and tea. Ethan gets a turkey sandwich and coffee. Let's not talk about the basement tonight, Mira suggests. Let's watch a movie. Any movie. Tomorrow we'll get back to the lists. Agreed, he nods. But I need to buy flashlights, batteries, and a voice recorder. They're predicting strong winds tomorrow. It's okay, she says. Just warn me. They finish eating in silence. Mira lingers at the door. Thank you for speaking directly during the sessions. It helps. Thank you too, he replies. At the office, Laura calls Ethan for a quick call. I see progress, she says. Let's distribute the work so that you don't sit up all night. Sasha takes the night alerts for a week. You close the daytime tasks and keep in touch about the release. I agree, he says. I'll add a reserve for force majeure to the plan. Take care of yourself, says Laura. And if anything happens, write earlier, not when everything is burning. After the call, he goes to the window. The trees are swaying more vigorously. The sky is low and gray. He checks the forecast, wind warnings for the evening and night. During the day, he stops at Ray. He picks up 2 headlamps, a pack of batteries, a whistle on a lanyard, and a small analog voice recorder with a memory card. The salesperson rings up the purchase. It might blow tonight, he says. Take some more waterproof bags. Let's go, Ethan replies. At home, he hangs flashlights on a nail by the basement entrance and on a hook by the garage door, puts a voice recorder and spare batteries in a box on a shelf in the hallway. He writes emergency protocol on a piece of paper and sticks it on the refrigerator. Turn off the gas at the grill and oven. One remains at the door, the other calls 911 if there is an attempt to break in. The lanterns are on hooks, the voice recorder is in the corridor. To the basement, just the 2 of us. We don't argue about any rustling, we speak briefly, we do it according to the list. Mira reads the piece of paper and nods. Thank you. This is a clear plan. I'll also put a bucket under the pipe, he says. If it breaks, we won't be able to catch it with our hands. I'll bring towels, she replies, and rubber gloves. In the evening, they put on a movie and eat pizza by agreement. In the middle, gusts of wind begin, and you can hear the frames rattling in the windows. By 9, the lights flicker a couple of times. By 9:30, the house suddenly freezes, the kind of silence that only happens without electricity. Everything goes out: the lights, the router, the thermostat. The sound of the heat pump disappears. In the darkness, you can hear the rain and a tree rubbing against the roof. That's it, Ethan says calmly. Protocol. Mira gets up, goes to the stove, checks the gas. Ethan takes out the flashlights, one on his head, one in his hand. He takes the recorder, turns on the recording. Water is dripping somewhere, a thin sound from under the floor. The pipe, he says. Let's go. Together, she reminds. They open the hatch. The smell of damp is stronger than usual. The steps are slippery. Ethan goes down 2 steps first, the light from the lantern cutting the space in spots. Drops reflect on the concrete floor. There is a thin stream near the pipe, hitting the bucket he put there during the day. The bucket is half full. Do you have a replacement bucket? Mira asks. Yes, he puts the second one next to him, swaps them. Further according to plan. The darkness is thicker in the far corner, where the mattress used to be. Ethan turns the beam there. Stop, Mira says quietly but evenly. Is there someone there? There is a quiet step. Not a pipe, not a raccoon. A human step. Ethan does not move. Ryan, he says, if you're here, come into the light. No surprises. A pause. Then a voice from the darkness. I'm here. Don't come any closer. Dim the lights. It hurts my eyes. Ethan lowers the beam to the floor. Mira keeps her hand on the railing. I need a day, Ryan says. I'll take what's left and go. I didn't mean to hurt you. I cleaned up yesterday so you'd be left alone. The neighbors were making noise, the police. I don't want any trouble. You've already caused us problems, Mira replies. The camera in the bedroom, the letters. It was unacceptable. You had the camera installed before me, Ryan says. I only saw the file they leaked to me. That's no excuse, but I didn't install that charger. I installed a small one on the duct, I admit it. I wanted to see when the stairs were clear. I'm a fool. I filmed everything. And you were outside the house at night, Ethan adds, trying to connect to the network. It's in the logs. I wanted to check if I left any traces, Ryan says, and to get the flash drive. I'm afraid of the police. I'm on probation for a bar fight 3 years ago. I'm not picking fights. I'm not touching you. I'm hiding because I started this stupidly. I'm leaving today. You're leaving now, Ethan says, without your things. We'll throw them out tomorrow. You don't come back ever again. We've filed a report. If you show up, we'll call 911. A door slams from above. A draft. Luke hits the frame. The impact locks it with its tongue. Mira shudders. Easy, Ethan says. The latch is set. It will open from the inside. He climbs up the step and pulls the handle. The wood is swollen from dampness. The movement is stiff. Don't pull too hard, says Mira. Let me hold the flashlight. She goes up a step, highlighting the lock. Ethan fumbles for the latch with his fingers. Ryan, stay where you are, he says, without looking back. Don't move. We're not talking to you when the door is jammed. I'm going nowhere, he replies. You can't tip over a bucket. Ethan moves the tongue millimeter by millimeter. Water drips into the bucket. The sound is even. The wind outside picks up. A dull hum passes through the pipe. A minute later, the latch gives way. The door opens. Cold air hits the hallway. Come on out, Ethan says to Ryan. You'll be up first. No stuff in your hands. Leave the flashlight on the floor. A male figure in a jacket emerges from the darkness. His face is shaved, he has no beard, and he has a hood on his head. His hands are raised. He passes under the stairs slowly, climbs 2 steps. He stops on the 3rd. Can I take off my shoes? He asks. I don't want to drag around dirt. Take it off, Mira says briefly. Ryan reaches for his laces, takes off his boots, and continues up the stairs. His hands are always visible. In the hallway, he stands against the wall. Ethan follows him up. Mira is the last one out, closes the hatch, and puts the latch on. The 3 of them stand in the narrow hallway. Without electricity, everything looks strange, but calm. The walls, the rug, the hooks with jackets. Then here's what it's like, Ethan says. You leave through the front door. We don't hold you with our hands. We call the police after you leave and let them know we saw each other. You don't come back. No notes, no cameras, no letters. If you show up, it's stalking. I get it, Ryan says quietly. Can I just say one thing? Briefly, says Mira. I didn't come to ruin your lives, he says. I came when it seemed to me that no one down there needed air. It was wrong. I'm leaving. Go, Ethan says. Ryan puts on his boots at the door, taking his time. Their key box is on the shelf by the entrance. He looks at it and then looks away. He opens the door and rain hits the threshold. He steps out under the awning, turns his head. I'll return what I have, he says. The flash drive. Not today. Through the center's lawyer so as not to come near the house. You don't have to return anything, Mira replies. Just don't come back yourself. Okay, he nods and walks down the path to the street. The wind muffles his steps. The door closes. Mira turns the key. They stand in the hallway, not moving. Are you okay? Ethan asks. Yes, she says. My head is ringing, but I'm okay. I recorded it on a dictaphone, he says. I'll give a copy to the police station later. No emotions, just as is. Okay, she replies. Now let's put the bucket back under the pipe and lie down on top. I don't want to talk here at night. The two of them go down 2 steps again, change the bucket. Ethan puts the second one under the dripping point to prevent spillage. They go up, close the hatch, and put a heavy bag of tools on it while the power is out. In the living room, they spread a blanket on the sofa. Mira goes to the kitchen, pours water from a carafe. I'm glad you didn't try to detain him, she says. He left quicker than I expected. That's not our job, he replies. Our job is to close the entrance. They lie down on the sofa next to each other, listening to the wind. The phones are on the table. There is no network reception. In the darkness, the only sound is the raindrops falling into the bucket. Ethan breathes deeply. When the lights come on, I'll reconfigure everything, he says quietly. But without the living room, as we agreed. Okay, Mira replies. And in the morning, I'll call Dr. Coleman and tell him we need an unscheduled session, and we'll write to the station that he came to. Agree. They fall asleep in fits and starts. Towards morning, the wind dies down. The electricity turns on briefly, then goes out again, then comes back steadily. The refrigerator starts up dully. A relay clicks somewhere in the wall. Ethan sits up, looks at the phone. No messages, but there is a network. He goes into the hallway, puts the recorder on the table. The signature is already prepared. Date, time, contact in the basement, no physical conflict. Are we going to your mother's in the morning, as planned? He asks. Let's go, Mira answers. I'll call her in an hour when she wakes up. They open the hatch, check the bucket, almost full. Ethan closes the valve, calls the plumbing service. They promise to come closer to evening. The house sounds familiar again. A pump, a refrigerator, drops in a bucket. I want us to talk today without accusations, says Mira. Only about what we do next. Fair enough, he replies. He puts the kettle on, she cuts the bread. The night episode lies between them not as a secret, but as a fact. Now they have a record, a statement, a protocol. And for the first time in weeks, someone went up the stairs, not down. In the morning, the plumber comes. A man of about 50, baseball cap, name on the patch Tom. He goes down to the basement with a flashlight and a long wrench, looks at the cracked pipe, nods. Old section. The pressure jumps, that's why there's a crack. I'll put in a new coupling and clamp, add a support so it doesn't move. What time is it? Ethan asks. Half an hour. I'll turn off the water for 10 minutes. I'll check the rest. Mira brings him a bucket of rags from downstairs. Tom works without further ado. The metal creaks, water runs into the bucket, then the drips stop. He tightens the clamp, wipes, puts a prop under the line. It's done, he says, getting up. Watch it for a couple of days. If it starts leaking again, call, and check the pressure in the system. You can put a reducer at the entrance. Ethan signs the invoice and pays with his card. Tom leaves. The only sounds heard in the house are the usual ones. The refrigerator, the cat, footsteps in the hallway. On the refrigerator hangs the emergency protocol and their schedules. Ethan takes pictures of the repairs on his phone for a report to the insurance company. I'll send the recording from last night to the station, he says. The file on the dictaphone is intact. Okay, Mira nods. And we'll go to Mom, like we promised. Ethan sits down at his laptop, copies the audio onto a card with a timestamp and a short transcript. Contact in basement, voluntary departure, no threats. He sends it to the address the sergeant gave him and enters the case number. 10 minutes later, an automatic response arrives. Received. "Let's go," says Mira, taking her jacket. "I called her. She's expecting us for lunch." They pull onto I-5. The rain is light, the traffic is heavy. Mira drives, Ethan looks out the window. There are wet flags of auto shops on the side of the road, coffee trucks on the exits. The radio plays softly in the car. After 10 minutes, Mira says, "Let's agree on how to tell Mom. Briefly. We're in a crisis. We're working with a therapist." Without details about the basement. "I agree," Ethan replies. "If he asks, we'll say we're fixing the borders and our daily life. There are no financial problems. Our health is okay. The rest is ours." "She'll have 1,000 pieces of advice," says Mira, "about going outside, less screens, more dinners together." "We do some of it anyway," he answers. "Let today be her holiday. We'll come, help, eat, talk about repairs and doctors, and about us just the facts." Mira nods. The fuel indicator lights up on the dashboard. They pull into a gas station. Ethan gets out, inserts the gun, looks at the people around him. Someone goes into a store for coffee. A man in a vest changes his windshield wipers. Mira wipes the windshield. A message from Sasha flashes on Ethan's phone. "Everything is quiet. Got the night alerts. Get back to your regular schedule." Ethan replies, "Thanks. I'm leaving for a couple of hours today." He doesn't open any more work chats. At the entrance to Tacoma, Mira points to a sign that says, "Point Ruston." "Shall we go for a walk after lunch?" he asks. "Let's get some air by the water." "Come on," he says. Mira's mother lives in a small one-story house in a quiet neighborhood. White shutters, a lavender flower bed, a bell by the door. There's a pumpkin on the porch. She likes to prepare for autumn in advance. She opens it herself short, in a sweater, her hair neatly done. Her name is Ellen. She has a calm look and a habit of adjusting her glasses when she's nervous. "My dears," she says and hugs Mira. Then she leans over to Ethan and hugs him too, lightly. "Come in, the soup is ready." Bob is in the living room. He's turned on the football, but he knows how to turn the volume down. Bob is her husband, a wizened man with a mustache, about 65 years old. He is sitting in a chair. A college game is on the screen. He stands up, shakes Ethan's hand. "How's the route?" he asks. "Did you stop on the bridge?" "No, it's fine," Ethan replies. The kitchen smells of chicken soup and apple pie. Ellen places deep plates and bread on the table. "How are you?" she asks, pouring the soup. Mira looks at Ethan. He nods, giving her the right to go first. "We're going through a difficult period," says Mira. "We're seeing a therapist, working on our relationships. It's not about money or health. It's just life. We'll get through it." Ellen doesn't ask why or what happened. She looks at her daughter carefully. "It's good that you don't keep quiet," he says. "Your father and I had a lot of unnecessary emotions and little order when we were 40. We didn't know how to ask for help then. You're smarter. What do you want from me?" "Support and no questions asked," Mira replies, "and so that you don't discuss it with your neighbors." Ellen chuckles. "I learned to keep my mouth shut late, but I do." "Good. How can I help you today?" "Let's just have lunch and see what needs to be done around the house," Ethan says. "I want to check the faucet in the bathroom and the filter in the furnace. You said the furnace was noisy." "It's noisy," Ellen nods. "Bob keeps saying it'll last another season, but I don't like it. Take a look." Bob speaks loudly from the living room. "I don't mind, I just need a master. I don't stick my hands in there." "That's right," Ethan replies. They eat soup. The conversation is about familiar things. The neighbor sold her car, her nephew moved, Ellen's knees hurt in the rain, and Bob complains about the insurance. Mira smiles more often than she does at home. Ellen has pictures on the refrigerator: Angela's graduation, her and Mira's trip to Yellowstone 10 years ago, the cat in a funny pose. Mira lingers on an old picture of her and Ethan in front of a boardwalk. After lunch, Ethan changes the filter in the furnace. Bob brings a stepladder. The filter is gray, almost clogged. Ethan puts in a new one, checks the noise has become quieter. Thank you, Ellen says. Consider it a pie. A pie in any case, Mira answers and cuts the first piece. Then Ethan goes to the bathroom, changes the washer in the faucet. The water stops dripping. He washes his hands, dries them with a towel. At this time, Mira and her mother sort out the medicine cabinet. They throw out expired pills and put aside a list for the doctor. Mom, when was the last time you saw a rheumatologist? Mira asks. In June, Ellen replies. I'll go again in October. I'll take you, says Mira. I'll find the time. I don't argue, Ellen nods. Just don't give up your life for me. You're adults. By 4, they're at the waterfront. They park at Point Ruston and grab a coffee to go. The water is gray-green, the wind is cool. People are walking their dogs, kids are riding scooters. They walk in silence for about 5 minutes. Then Mira says, I told my mother only what was necessary, and I feel calmer. I don't want to make a secret out of this. And I feel better, Ethan says. Tonight is a night without talking about home. Let's stick to it. Agreed. But I'll say one thing, and then we'll close the topic until tomorrow. She looks at the water. When Ryan came out yesterday, everything calmed down inside me. Not because he disappeared, but because we did it without a scene. I want to continue like this, without a scene. I'm for it, he says. Next, steps, not speeches. They return to the car. There is something wedged under the windshield wiper. A small yellow envelope with a clasp. Mira takes it and looks at Ethan. My name is here, she says. On the front, in rare handwriting, Mira. No address, no stamp, so it was planted. We'll open it here, in front of Mom. It's not worth it, says Ethan. Let's do it at the police station or in the car, but without connecting anything. Let's open it now. If it's a flash drive, don't insert it, Mira nods. She opens the clasp, shakes the contents into her palm. A small USB stick and a short note. As promised, I won't be showing up again. R. They look at each other. On the way to the station, Ethan says, we'll hand it over as is. I agree, Mira answers. They pull into the Tacoma police station. The receptionist makes a note and takes the envelope. We'll add to the case, says the duty officer. You didn't open it? No, Ethan replies. We want you to check it out. That's right, she nods. Mira exhales as she leaves. I want no phones today, she says. We'll have pie at Mom's and then go home. Movies or baseball at home. And sleep in the same room, okay? Okay, Ethan nods. I'll leave only the stairwell chamber for the night. I won't touch the rest, and no duty caught by the hatch. Thank you, she says. That evening at Ellen's, they eat pie and laugh about the old story about Bob assembling the grill incorrectly and spending half a day trying to figure out why the meat wouldn't cook. Ellen shows her a discount coupon at the drugstore and asks her to check the expiration date. Mira puts a reminder in her phone for the next morning. Ethan hangs a new calendar on the wall because the old one ran out in August. Before leaving, Ellen hugs them at the door. You're great at drawing conclusions, not wars, she says. That's what adult life is. Come over this weekend if you want. Bob's making chili, I'll bake cookies. We'll see about the schedule, Mira replies, but we'll try. They drive back in the dark. The rain is getting heavier, the windshield wipers are rustling. The radio is playing the news, they switch to music. At the entrance to Seattle, the traffic thickens, but continues. Mira is holding on confidently. Ethan is looking at the navigation on his phone. He promised no work or home chats, and he is keeping it. They enter the house quietly. The cat greets them at the door. In the hall, Ethan checks the lock on the hatch, does not touch, just looks. The phone is empty. He puts it on the table. Let's play by the rules, he says. Tonight is a no-home night. Pick a movie. Something simple, she replies. An old comedy. I can't handle drama. They turn on a movie and sit down on the couch. They don't order pizza, they heat up soup. In the middle of the movie, Mira puts her head on his shoulder. He doesn't pull away. This isn't a like-before scene. It's just a normal gesture. At the end, she says, "Tomorrow morning, I'll write to the doctor and tell him about the envelope. And I'll call my center. We have an installation on Saturday. I need a list of tasks. I don't want to drop out of work. And I'll get back to the morning release tasks," he says. "I'll make a plan for the week without night experiments. We've already done everything we could to close the entrances. One more thing," Mira adds. "I want to bring back one familiar thing. On Sunday's coffee in our little bakery nouveau. No talk about home. We just sit and drink coffee." "I agree," he replies. "I love this coffee." They go to bed in the bedroom. Ethan puts the strange charger away from the outlet and puts it in a box in the closet as evidence, not as a household item. The lights go out early. It's raining outside. The phones are on the nightstand. The sound is off except for emergency calls. He wakes up once at night, listens to the silence. Nothing but the wind and the refrigerator. In the morning, Ethan is the first one to go to the kitchen. He makes coffee, checks his mail. There is a letter from the duty officer. "Flash drive received, transferred to the digital evidence department. We will inform you if there is anything important." It is a short line, but it is like a mark in their overall plan. They took a step and did not break. Mira comes out in a robe and sits down at the table. "Thank you for not turning on security mode yesterday," she says. "I slept better." "Me too," he answers. "Today I work from home until lunch, then to the office. In the evening, no basement topic. Do you have the strength?" "Yes," she nods. "And I have a favor to ask. Let's discuss when to tell Angela." Briefly, "I know she sensed something was wrong." "We'll ask the doctor at the next session," he suggests, "and we'll decide together what to say. No details." "We have a deal," says Mira. He takes a notepad and writes 3 points for the day. Release, call to the police station about the flash drive mark, letter to the doctor about an unscheduled session, and on a separate line, coffee on Sunday. This is not a sensor or a lock. This is what holds the top floor. Sunday is forecast to be rain-free until midday. They leave the house on foot and go down to the bakery nouveau. The line is already at the door, the smell of croissants and coffee. Mira keeps her hands in her pockets. Ethan looks at the window. "According to the rules, no topic at home," she recalls quietly. "I'm holding it," he replies. They take an Americano and an almond pastry and sit down by the window. Behind the glass, people with dogs are slowly walking, some in sports jackets, some with a stroller. Mira takes a small diary out of her bag. "Don't be scared," he says. "This isn't a home list. This is work. I need a plan for editing on Saturday. I want to write it out now, while my head is clear." "Right," he nods. "I'll just sit." She makes notes. Who brings in the podiums, who does the lighting, what time the volunteers arrive. Ethan watches her face. The concentration is even, without the tension of the last few weeks. He notes it as a fact, not a sign. "By the way," she looks up, "we're having a small donor meeting next week. Informal. 6 or 7 people. I'd like you to come by at the beginning, just get acquainted, and then leave if it's too hard. Can you do that?" "I can," he says. "I can pull it off for about an hour and a half. Just tell me in advance which names to remember." "I'll tell you. There are a couple of people there who it's better to know the context about." They finish their coffee in silence. On the way out, Mira says, "Thank you for coming. It was simple and normal. I need that right now." "Me too," he replies. During the day, Ethan goes to the office. On the way, Sasha calls. "It's quiet this morning. The servers are alive," he says. "By the way, I bought Seahawks tickets for Thursday. Are you coming? I can give you one if you can't wait." "I'll take it," Ethan answers after a short pause. "I need outside air, but no talk of a basement." "We'll only discuss attack and defense," Sasha promises. "Hold on." The office is empty on a Sunday afternoon. Ethan sits in the corner of the conference room. He opens the release plan, marks the tasks he can handle this week without night shifts. He writes to Laura, working until 4, checking the index bug and starting the cache task. In response, he receives a laconic thank you. At 2, an email arrives from the HOA. Subject, nighttime noises. The chairman has sent out a form to all tenants asking them to record the time of strange noises and not to draw conclusions until an investigation is completed. The text is worded cautiously. Possible raccoons, technical malfunctions. Ethan reads it twice and feels a mixture of irritation and relief. At least they don't write Mira and Ethan's basement. He answers briefly, "We had a problem with the pipe, fixed. Cameras are installed outside, no visitors. Ready to report the time if we hear anything. Please do not spread rumors." He copies Vince. 10 minutes later, Vince writes in a private message, "Responded normally. I will support you if someone starts to get worked up." Ethan closes his laptop at 4 sharp, as promised. On the way home, he stops at a hardware store to buy rubber mats for the stairs. The steps are slippery in wet weather. In the evening, they have dinner at home: rice, fish, salad. After dinner, Mira brings a printout with the names of the donors and small notes in a column. "Just remember 3, she says. "Hannah is a longtime donor. She loves precision and reports. Nate is the owner of a local coffee shop. He helps with food and volunteers. It's important for him to see real people. Carol is a former artist. Now she donates small amounts, but steadily. The rest are situational." "Okay," he nods. "Who's the main volunteer among you, so I don't mix up the roles?" "Jaden, a student. Polite, fast. You can ask him to carry heavy things. He won't be offended." "I accepted," he replies. They fold papers. Ethan carries the rugs to the stairs, glues them down. Mira stands below, holding a flashlight to make sure they lie flat. "It's a small job, but useful," he says out loud. "It's not about surveillance. It's about not slipping and making it easier for the plumber next time." "I see. A good improvement," she says. There is silence at night. He sleeps in his bedroom, not checking his phone every half hour. In the morning, there are no new emails on the screen. He marks it as a normal Monday. On Monday, he works from home until lunch, then goes to the office for a stand-up comedy show. After the show, Sasha suggests going to a sports bar near the stadium on Thursday before the game. Ethan agrees. Dr. Coleman calls this afternoon. "I can see you tomorrow for 30 minutes unscheduled if you need to discuss a conversation with your family." "That'll do," says Mira. "We just wanted to discuss it with my sister." After the call, Mira writes to Angela, "Do you have time for a quick meeting on Wednesday evening? I want to tell you myself without speculation." The answer comes almost immediately. "Of course. Come to us. Chris will make soup. I will bake bread. No unnecessary questions, I promise." "She's ready," Mira says. "Okay," Ethan replies. "Let's agree in advance what we're going to say." "Facts, no details," Mira repeats. "We had a crisis. We are with a therapist. Now there are rules. The house is in order." If he asks what we need from them, we will say, "Support without control." "And no traps," he adds. "Otherwise, the conversation will go in the wrong direction." Mira smiles briefly. She understands that this is about both her and him. On Tuesday, they visited Dr. Coleman. This time, the meeting is shorter. "We want to discuss how to talk to my sister," Mira begins. "A couple of principles," says the doctor. "Talk about yourself, not about him or her." "I'm worried. I need to. Clarify the boundaries in advance. We're not discussing details. We don't want this to go any further. And ask for specific help if it's needed. For example, if you feel like we're arguing in front of you, don't interfere, just change the subject, or if we need to spend the night, we'll tell you straight." "That's what we planned," Ethan nods. "And we have a history with Hoa. We don't want rumors to spread through the family." "Say that," the doctor replies, "and add that you are in contact with the police and do not ask them to get their friends involved. The family often wants to solve. It is not their job. Thank you, says Mira. We'll do that. The doctor looks at them briefly at the end. You have already eliminated the nightly attempts at self-defense at the cost of sleep. Keep it. Sleep is part of the therapy. We understand, Ethan replies. Wednesday night, they are at Angela's. The lamp is burning by the window. There is soup on the stove. Chris is setting the table. Angela is putting out bread. We're glad to see you, Angela says. Say whatever you want. I'm not in a hurry. Mira repeats the agreed formula. Briefly, without details. Angela listens attentively, does not interrupt. At the end, she says, I understand. I love you both. I can be there and not ask anything. If you need to spend the night or run away to us for a couple of hours, come. I will not ask why. Chris adds, I don't interfere, but if you just need to take someone somewhere and keep quiet, call me. Thank you, Ethan says. And one more request. Don't discuss this with the neighbors or Mom. We've already told Mom in general terms. It's important to us that no one adds anything further. I promise, Angela nods. I'm the older sister, but I'm not the boss. They eat soup, talk about their niece's school, about the rainy September, about Chris's plans to replace the old grill. The conversation is smooth, without sharp edges. Angela hugs them both goodbye, tighter than usual. In the car, Mira says, Thank you for not starting to lecture about the system. That was exactly what was needed. I stuck to the plan, he replies. It's easier than improvising. Thursday. After work, Ethan meets Sasha at a sports bar near the stadium. Noise, screens, fried wings, people in green t-shirts. Sasha orders a non-alcoholic beer, Ethan a lemonade. Listen, Sasha says. I'll say one thing and close the topic. I'm glad you stopped sleeping by the hatch. You've started writing code more normally. Noted, Ethan nods. Thanks for the night shifts. You'll figure out the rest yourself, Sasha continues. And now look who's on first down. Don't think. They watch the game. Ethan finds himself thinking about nothing but sports for 10 minutes straight. It's not treatment, but it gives his mind a rest. After the game, they part ways without much conversation. Friday passes quietly. At lunchtime, Mira writes, We have editing tomorrow. We start at 9. Will you come for 2 hours? Ethan replies, Yes, I'll be there at 10. In the evening, they go to Target to buy disposable gloves, markers, and adhesive tape for editing. On the way, they buy kitchen towels to take home. This is a household trip. There is no catch. At the checkout, Mira asks, Shall we go tomorrow in 2 cars? I have to stay until the evening. Yes, he says. I'll be there at 10, help carry things, and leave at 1. I have to go to the office for an hour at 2. Then dinner and a movie at home, as listed. We have a deal, she smiles. Saturday. The art center is noisy, smells of plastic and paint. Jaden meets them at the door, hands out gloves to the volunteers. Ethan carries podiums and shields, tightens bolts, listens to Mira's commands. She is confident and fast here. Her, can you go a little higher? Stop, a centimeter to the left. Let's check the wire sounds calm. Ethan notices how Hannah, the donor, looks at her with respect, without patronage. Mr. Ethan, Jaden approaches. Will you help me get these boxes to the back room? Of course, he answers. At 11, Nate, the owner of the coffee shop, arrives, bringing thermoses of coffee and boxes of bagels. He says hello and introduces himself to Ethan. Just Nate, he says. Mira's lucky to have this team. Thanks for coming. It's her day, Ethan replies. At noon, Ethan leaves as promised. On the way, he buys groceries for the week and returns home. He checks his mail, a letter from the police department. The flash drive contains several clips from the stairs and kitchen. Low quality. No faces are visible. Noted in the case, no direct threats. If repeated, call. He shows Mira on the phone briefly, without discussion. In the evening, they have pasta for dinner. Mira is tired but happy. She says, Jaden is a godsend, and Hannah herself offered to help with the printing of the programs today. That's rare. Okay, he replies. I have a demo on Monday. I'll prepare tomorrow morning, and then have coffee at Nouveau, as we agreed. I agree, she nods. Before going to bed, Ethan goes to the hatch and just looks at the lock. Don't touch it. The lights are off in the living room. The hallway is dark but quiet. He goes back to the bedroom. On the nightstand are his phone and her phone. Both are charged, both are silent. He puts his hand on the blanket. She turns to him. Have you noticed? She says quietly. We've been living without night checks for a week, and nothing's happened. I noticed, he says. I can't promise I won't freak out if something works. But yes, I see. And one more thing, she adds after a pause. If we ever decide to sell this house and move, I won't argue. Not because we need to run away, but because you have the right to a different start. But for now, let's get what we can in order. We're not in a hurry, he replies. We're finishing what we can. He falls asleep without an alarm every 2 hours. In the morning, he wakes up to the sun, a rare ray for Seattle on the windowsill. In the kitchen, he puts on coffee. On the refrigerator are their sheets of paper with lists. He takes a marker and adds a line to the emergency protocol. 6. If the situation gets out of hand, stop arguing, leave the house, meet at Vince's, and call 911. Mira comes over and reads. I agree, she says. It's a simple rule. He smiles briefly. He goes into the living room, grabs his headphones, and opens his laptop an hour for the demo. For the first time in a long time, his head is free of the background hum of apprehension. There is the usual preparation for the meeting and the thought of coffee after. Monday starts with a demo. Ethan comes to the office early, prints out a checklist, and connects to the big screen in the conference room. Laura, Sasha, and 2 guys from a related team come on the call. Show me the cash first, Laura asks, then the indexes. Okay, Ethan calmly goes through the points. Short slides, live console, several tests. Questions to the point. Timeouts, batch sizes, error logging. He answers evenly without unnecessary words. At the end, Laura says, Good job. We're moving the feature to limited. We'll leave the night alerts to Sasha and you the day ones. Agreed, Ethan nods. After the call, Sasha enters the meeting room. You're starting to sound like you again, he says, smiling. Keep that rhythm. I try, Ethan replies. Thanks for covering my back. He closes his laptop at 5 sharp and heads home. His email is a reminder of the HOA meeting that evening. Room on the first floor of the club, 7 p.m. Agenda, noise and safety. Mira is already home, putting water on the pasta. Are you coming to HOA with me? She asks. Yes, he answers. I'll tell you briefly about the pipe repair and what we installed outside the chamber. Without details. Okay, she nods. The HOA room is small, plastic chairs, a table with water and cookies. The chairwoman, Kathy, a woman in her 50s with a bob haircut, opens the meeting. The neighbors take their seats. Vince sits close to the wall, waving. Mary is nearby, leafing through a printout. First, says Katie, there have been complaints about noises in our block at night. We asked everyone to record the time and not to draw conclusions until there are facts. Now the floor is for the neighbors who have questions. The man from the neighboring house raises his hand. This is you guys. He looks at Ethan and Mira. The police came at night. Mira doesn't take a break. We had a pipe accident, she says calmly. The plumber fixed it. We installed cameras outside, street cameras only, to record if anything happens. There are no night guests. We are in contact with the police on a separate issue. It is closed. A woman from across the row asks. The smell of tobacco sometimes lingers. Is it you? No, Ethan answers. The neighbor smokes in the garage and the ventilation sometimes drains. We installed a filter. No smoking in the house. Katie nods. Thank you. If the smell repeats, write to me personally. No chats. Any other questions? Mary raises her hand. I suggest we close the topic of rumors. People in the neighborhood know how to inflate things. Let's agree that we won't run around to neighbors without facts. I second that, Vince says. The meeting ends quickly. On the way out, Katie approaches Ethan. Thank you for your calm tone. If you need a paper from Hoa about no problem, say so. Thank you, he replies. In the parking lot, Mira exhales. I hate these kinds of meetings, but it was necessary. Better this way than on the stairs in a whisper, he replies. At home, they eat pasta and sit down at the table with a piece of paper called rules. Ethan places another piece of paper next to him. A proposal, he says. Let's turn the basement into a technical room. A cabinet with a server, ups, normal lighting. No bedroom, no mattresses. I understand it. It will be a clear zone, not a blind one. I'm not talking about new surveillance. I'm talking about order. Mira listens attentively. Conditions, she says. Noise should not interfere with sleep. No cameras pointed at the stairs below, only from above, like now. Wires neatly, and tell me in advance who you call if you need an electrician. Agreed, he nods. I'll take a used rack, fans with a regulator, and soundproof the door. For the electrics, a licensed master. We can start with the purchases tomorrow. Okay, she says. I'll help with the boxes and call Jaden if we need to haul anything heavy. The next day, Ethan stops by an electronics store on Aurora, finds a used 12-unit rack, 2 new ups, a set of cable channels, a set of ties, a panel for patch cards, and 2 LED lights. At the store, a consultant helps complete the fans with speed controllers and vibration hangers. Be careful with the noise, says the consultant. Put rubber supports under the stand. I'll take it, Ethan replies. The stand is promised to be delivered by evening. Ethan calls the electrician, Rose, who once installed sockets in their garage. We need a separate line to the basement, he says. 1 dedicated machine for the counter, 1 for the light. I can come tomorrow at 2, Rosa replies. I'll look at the panel and tell you what's needed. It fits, Ethan says. At home, he and Mira clean out the corner under the stairs. Ethan takes out old boxes, sorts what goes into the trash, what goes into the garage. Mira wipes the floors, brings concrete floor paint from the storage room they had left over from the renovation. 1 layer goes on quickly. There is almost no smell, the window is slightly open. The rack is delivered by 6. Vince helps carry it in. Seriously, he says, looking at the metal frame. It's like at work, only in minis. No show, Ethan replies. We put it in the corner, screw it to the wall so it doesn't wobble. The 3 of them carefully place the stand on rubber supports and fix it to the wall. Ethan mounts LED lights on the ceiling and above the stand and runs a cable channel along the wall. Mira holds the ladder and hands over the screws. The rhythm is clear, she says. It's easier to work when you know the steps. That's right, he replies. In the evening, Rose sends a text message. I'll be there tomorrow at 2. Ethan makes a list. A 20-amp circuit breaker, a UPS outlet, a master light switch by the stairs. He draws a diagram, labels the heights. It doesn't look like security. It looks like a regular home project. In the morning, a letter arrives from the police department. No contact warning given to person N. No response. If repeated, call 911. No details. Mira reads it and puts the phone on the table. Okay, she says. There's an official mark. Yes, Ethan replies. I'll add the number to the folder. Rosa arrives on time, looks at the panel, measures the loads. There's room for a circuit breaker, she says. But the wiring to the basement needs to be done carefully. It'll take about 2 hours. I'll install a GFCI to make it safe. Do it, Ethan replies. It works clearly, without unnecessary talk. By 4 o'clock in the basement, there is already a new socket hanging. The machine is signed. Ethan connects the ups, checks the load. The fans in the rack gently pull air, The regulator shows low speed. He covers the door to the basement with thin noise-absorbing strips. He puts a seal on top of the stairs so that light does not penetrate into the corridor. By evening, everything is assembled. In the rack is a small server with containers for the media library and backups, a router on a separate VLAN NAS. The cables are labeled. On the wall is a sheet with a diagram. Passwords are written in the manager. On paper are only port numbers and subnets. Mira comes down and watches the indicators light up. "It looks neat," she says. "There is noise, but it's bearable." "I'll set it to quiet mode at night," Ethan replies. "The revs are down, the temperature is under control, plus a timer for the backlight. And one more thing," she adds. "I want access to this room to be on our shared list. The keys are with both of us. If a technician comes, it will only be during the day and with one of us." "I'm writing it down," he nods. They go upstairs. Ethan removes unnecessary boxes from the hallway, puts the tools in the garage. Mira puts the washing machine in, starts a short cycle. The house is filled with normal sounds. He checks the behavior of the rack on his phone. RPM, temperature, consumption. Everything is normal. In the evening, Mira has a donor meeting at the Arts Center. He promised to come to the beginning. Tables with drinks and a cheese plate are set up in the hall. Hannah, Nate, Carol, and 4 others arrive. Mira is in a black shirt, confident, calm. She introduces Ethan. "This is my husband, Ethan. He helps with technical things at the center and at home." "It's nice to meet you," says Hannah. "We appreciate it when coordinators have orders at home. Then our reports are in order too." "We're working on it," Ethan replies. Nate brings coffee. "I heard there's a lot of commotion in your neighborhood right now," he says quietly. "They like to discuss other people's houses in my coffee shop. If anyone starts it, I'll cut the subject short." "Thank you," Ethan nods. Carol approaches Mira. "I can give you certificates for printing programs," she says. "A small help, but useful." "Very useful," Mira replies. "Thank you." Ethan holds out for an hour, as promised, then quietly leaves. On the way home, he stops at the store for bread and milk. In the parking lot, he checks his phone empty. He catches himself thinking that the word empty no longer scares him. It's just a status. The House of Peace returns by 10. "It went well," she says, taking off her jacket. "The donors are happy with the pace. Jaden helped out again with the carrier." "It's obvious you're in the right place," Ethan replies. "Tomorrow morning, I'll put the backup copy on a new disk and remove the extra cameras from the page. I'll leave the street and stairwell ones. That's it." "I agree," she nods. "I want the living room to remain a clean area, as we agreed." At night, he sets the fans to quiet mode. The noise is reduced, almost inaudible on the stairs. He checks the door, holding his hand on the key for a second not to open it, but to make sure it's locked. Then he goes into the bedroom. In the morning, they drink coffee in the kitchen. Ethan has a message from Laura on his phone. The client is happy with the demo. Next up, rollout as planned. Mira has a message from Katie from Hoa. "Thanks for participating. There was no noise last night. Remember about the cleanup fundraiser next week." "Shall we go to the cleanup day?" asks Mira. "We'll carry sacks for an hour." "Let's go," he nods. "This is useful." He looks at their schedules on the refrigerator. Now, in addition to the emergency protocol, there are the usual things to do. Coffee on Sunday, meeting with sister, game on Thursday, editing on Saturday. Under them, he writes another item with a marker. Basement technical zone. Entry only 2 people. Cameras, street, and stairs. Mira reads and says, "Period." "Period," he confirms. During the day, he returns to work. In the evening, they go to a small bistro on the corner. At the next table, a couple discusses a mortgage. They eat soup and salad, discussing not the house, but their immediate plans. A visit to their mother in a week, the release dates, the date of the party at the Arts Center. On the way back, Ethan stops at the front door, checks that the new closure closes softly. The porch smells of wet wood. He looks at the windows. A warm light is burning inside. We seem to be leveling out, Mira says quietly. We take steps, he replies, and we follow the rules. And we don't live near the hatch, she adds. And we don't live near the hatch, he repeats. They enter the house. There is no draft on the stairs. It is quiet downstairs. Upstairs, dinner, work, plans. The basement is no longer a strange room. It is a closet with appliances and a lock. That is enough for now. Several months have passed. The house is quiet. The emergency protocol remains on the refrigerator, but it is no longer as conspicuous as it once was. The usual notes hang nearby: a shopping list, the date of a cleanup day, the time of a donor meeting, baseball tickets. A server rack is working in the basement. The door has a thick seal. The light is turned on by a switch near the stairs. The noise is low and even. Access is by key, shared by both of them. The letter from the station came in November. Warning served. No new calls received. There was nothing important on the flash drive that was handed to the duty officer in Tacoma. Ryan never showed up again. Not at the house, not in anyone's conversations. Sometimes an empty letter with no text pops up in spam. Ethan set up a filter so that such letters would go away on their own. He left this setting and never returned to it. Mira continued the program at the center. The fall show went off without a hitch. Jadden received a small payment from a separate fund and signed up for another semester. Mira assembled a group of local artists for the winter, arranged for the catalog to be printed. Hannah sent a check early. Carol arranged a monthly payment. Nate delivers coffee without unnecessary conversation. At donor meetings, Mira explains the numbers calmly, without unnecessary pathos. She succeeds. Ethan rolled out the feature to production and closed a series of cash bugs. Sasha continues to take night alerts. Shifts are now scheduled without improvisation. Laura told him something simple during one of the retro-s: "You've become available again." He noted this phrase in his notebook, not as praise, but as a fact. On Thursdays, he watches the game, sometimes meets Sasha at a sports bar for an hour. They talk about offense, defense, and at the end, see you. Things calmed down with the Hoa too. At the general meeting, Katie laid out the night sounds by time. A pipe failure, a storm, once a garbage truck at 4 in the morning. The chat stopped dropping hints. Vince said it like this: "Stop looking for other people's stories. Everyone has their own." After that, the topic died down. The therapy hasn't stopped. They have a joint session once a week and one individual session a month. In the joint session, they discuss the schedule, household responsibilities, boundaries. In the individual session, each talks about their own. Dr. Coleman doesn't press. He suggests practical steps. One of them was fixed on paper: 2 evenings without talking about home and 1 evening for household chores. These 3 evenings keep the rhythm of the week. There are no more extraneous devices in the bedroom. Chargers are ordinary. Cameras are only in the stairs and outside. The living room is a clean zone. Both adhere to this rule. When guests come, they discuss sports, work, books, gas prices, and where to get cheap concert tickets. If the conversation turns to, "How are things with your home?" Mira changes the subject or says directly, "We are coping, thank you." This works better than long explanations. They talked about intimacy separately at the session, without details and without slogans. They decided not to pretend that nothing had happened and not to try to go back to how it was before. Instead, they agreed on specific things: on weekdays their own sleep rituals, on weekends dinners with friends or walks, sometimes light touches and hugs where it is appropriate for both. When one does not want to, the other does not insist. There is less tension in this simplicity. They also established order with the family. Ellen asks only what is necessary: health, work, plans for the weekend. For her birthday, she asked to bring a salad and take a heavy pot off the shelf. Ethan changed the filter again and set a reminder in the calendar. Angela periodically invites them to her place, but does not draw unnecessary conclusions. If you need to, come. If not, no big deal. It's fair. In December, Ethan and Mira discussed an apartment closer to the center-neutral territory, a fresh start. They calculated the mortgage, listed the expenses, and compared it with the current house. They decided not to rush. They agreed that they would make normal ventilation in the basement, renew the floor covering, and change the carpet on the stairs in the spring. Selling was not a taboo topic, but not urgent. The deadline was in a year, so calm. Some of the habits remained. On Sundays, coffee at Bakery Nouveau. On Wednesdays, she goes jogging. He has training and demos on Fridays. They continue to write short notes to each other. I'll take out the trash. I'll buy asparagus. Come to the center for half an hour on Thursday. These notes have no hidden meaning. Sometimes Ethan lingers on the hatch key in the hallway, not to open it, but to check that it's locked. This movement has become part of his walk around the house, like turning off the light or closing the front door. Mira is cool with it. If she doesn't like the sound of the fan downstairs, she says, "Please turn it down." He does. For him, it's please that's important now, not do it right away. One evening in January, they were sitting on Vince's porch. Vince was showing off a new camera above the garage. Mary was discussing the catalog with Mira. The conversation turned to how people perceive quiet problems. Vince said, "When something strange happens in the house, everyone wants an explanation. Not everyone wants facts, and not everyone can hold their breath." They agreed. Since then, Ethan has never told anyone exactly what he was doing at the hatch that night. He no longer needs it. At work, Ethan proposed a rule within the team similar to the one at home. One meeting a week for routine matters documentation, bug queues, release schedule. The team accepted it. Sasha got free evenings. Laura noted that she was procrastinating less. Ethan wrote this down too, but without the success checkbox, just as it became clearer. In the spring, Mira opens a new exhibition at the center. She asks Ethan to help with visitor counting and an online feedback form. He makes a simple table, sets up notifications. On the opening day, he stands at the entrance with a volunteer badge, says hello, and gives people programs. Hannah comes up to him and says, "It's calmer this way." He replies, "It's easier this way." It's true. Ryan no longer appears in their conversations, neither as a topic nor as an example. If a similar silhouette flashes somewhere in the city, no one points a finger. They have sent enough requests to themselves and have clearly recorded the limitation. Fear has not disappeared completely, but it no longer controls their daily routine. Ethan sometimes remembers sitting on the floor by the stairs and listening to the phone. He remembers it without anger towards himself. Back then, he chose what he could do, and it helped him survive until the next step. Now his steps are different. Install apps, negotiate with an electrician, check with a HOA about the format of letters, ask Mira about the donor list, take out the trash before the rain, text Sasha, "I'm going to the game," and come back on time. These things don't look big, but they are what hold their house up from the top. In the spring, they went to the sea for one day. No overnight stay, no big expectations. They drove along the 99th, bought coffee at Point Ruston, and walked along the embankment. On the way back, Mira said, "We live normally." Ethan replied, "We do what we promised." That was enough. A house in the Seattle suburbs has survived 2 storms, a pipe replacement and HOA dispute, and one long series of conversations. No one sleeps in the basement anymore. The stairwell camera records an empty hallway, the outdoor camera records a wet lawn, and a cat who sometimes returns through someone else's gate. A kettle boils in the kitchen. On the table are the usual bills. On the refrigerator is a to-do list. The list now almost never includes the words basement or access. It has coffee on Sunday, sister on Wednesday, mom's visit on Saturday, cleanup, demo. It's enough to live not in emergency mode, but in day-by-day mode. They don't call it victory. They call it order. And they hold on to it the best they can, with conversations, with schedules, with an honest yes or no where there used to be silence. The house is still the house. The basement is a tech zone. The hatch is closed. The door above opens and closes with a regular lock. That's enough. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.